Well, hello there. You're watching Offbeat Business TV or listening to the OBBM Network podcast. My name is Susan Hamilton, and I'm here with DJ Maymi today.
You're listening to the OffBeat Business Show, rebuilding American business influence locally, nationally, and abroad, bringing you experienced insight for a strong, influential brand and successful life in business. Here's your host, Susan Hamilton.
Very excited to have you here, Jay.
I'm happy to be here.
So you probably recognize this name by now because he's one of the co-hosts on the very popular Business First Responders podcast on the OBBM network. We're so excited to have your voice out there encouraging local business. And that's what you do, right? I mean, you come in and go, I'm going to give you a swift kick in the pants and we're going to smile about it.
That's exactly right. And give you a hug and some loving afterwards, too.
So what brought you to Dallas?
You know, I tell you, I knew I needed to get out of New York because I stopped digging the snow. Not only dig in the snow, but dig in the snow.
That's why I'm out of Wisconsin. Right. I hear you.
So I just figured, after a while of just knowing what the winter seasons look like, I got tired of that. And then, of course, the taxes in New York are ridiculous. So no snow in Texas, at least not a whole lot anyway. Certainly no taxes. Made it for a good place to come to. And there's a whole lot less potholes here than they are in New York.
Now, I don't know if you knew that. If you didn't know that, get excited, DFW, because that's very good news. Jag, you have interviewed some of the most interesting people, and I noticed something about the way you do it. I noticed that you're always wanting them to feature how they got through this adversity, how they got up on the other side, and you're hitting the mindset, man. You are hitting that mindset all the time. Why is that the biggest thing on your, what's the word I'm looking for, the way you really focus your effort?
Well, you know, one of the things that I believe is that there's two ways you can live your life. You can live your life as an example, okay, for others to emulate, or you can live your life complaining or stating that you are an exception, or that others who have a lifestyle that you would like to pursue, that they're the exceptions to the rule. And I want people to know that it doesn't matter where they are. And my background is a testimony of that. It doesn't matter where they are, that you can go from a place where you are just surviving to thriving, and that look at others who've achieved the measure of success, not as the exception to the rule, but an example of success, an example of what can happen when someone applies themselves. So regardless of what situation or circumstances someone can find themselves in, doesn't mean they have to stay there.
That's right.
If they don't want to be there. And if you look around the world and look through history, there's plenty of examples of people that have risen to the occasion from terrible situations. And if they could do it, you could do it.
I love that. You know, it doesn't matter where you went to school. It doesn't matter what your background is. Some of the most amazing people out there that have done amazing things have really had to push themselves out of their scenario and push past their problems to get to the other side. I don't know how you do it without the mindset. I don't think it's possible. I think if you are going to go where your brain takes you.
Mm-hmm. Well, absolutely. And the whole thing is about being inspired. I think that we live in a world now where there's a whole lot less of people that are inspiring others. I mean, you have a small percentage of them, but I think the overwhelming amount of people and experiences that people are having today, and even over the last 15, 20 years, starting from 9/11, right? You don't see that there is a lot of inspiring events and a lot of reasons for people to be inspired, to be encouraged, to be impacted, to be influenced positively. And I believe people are ready for something like that. They're hungry for something like that. And there just isn't enough, I believe, of it out there. Even today, the negativity that you find when you watch whatever you watch on your channels or your online media, social media, it's overwhelmingly negative, right? And people are ready for something different. They're ready for something that's going to inspire them.
I think that there's a stage for business leadership in that space, that we really have to stand on that stage. We have to get loud about it because I believe it has to do with how our communities are going to survive. We never could have imagined that the magnitude of a lot of overreach that stopped a lot of businesses going through this. That now what do we do? Because it fostered so much fear in the community. It's fostered fear in the business community, and a lot of times how I've come to look at it is you've got a group up here that gets, wow, we got to get back to work. We're past this now. It's time to roll. And you got a group down here going, I'm watching to see if they're going to do it. What's going to happen? And you got a group down here that's scared. They're cowering. They're not getting out. They're losing their business. And there could be very significant reasons why they're losing their business. It could be completely out of their control, or it could be their mindset. Right? They are. It's just time. But what are we going to do if we don't inspire this group in the middle? Because they're going to go one way or the other, right? We have this opportunity, I think, to grab people and go, hey, come on, come on, we can have an America again. We can support our families and our communities with this great business idea. And as you always mention in business first responders, it might be a little different business idea, but do it. Get inspired to do it.
Well, I think one of the things that people need to realize now more than ever, if they're a business owner, or even if you're not a business owner, you're just trying to live your life, that idleness is not a strategy. Right? Panic is not a problem solver. Right? And you're either going to proceed in faith or retreat in fear. And you get to choose.
Yeah.
You get to choose. So that's why programs like this and programs like Business First Responders is really edging people to lean toward that faith walk, and not and steer away from the fear, from living a life where fear controls their thoughts and controls their actions, which only leads you to idleness anyway.
And look, think about all the different ways, as you know, where that can come into play. That fear can come into whether you're putting that order out, because are you going to be able to sell it? Right? Are you going to make your money
Correct.
back? You're all those little choices that will cause you to shrink back when you really need to push because everyone else is shrinking back. It puts you in a more powerful position if you can let go of that fear and go, wait a minute, what am I really making this decision for? And what's that return really going to be if I go for it right now, right?
Well, absolutely. And this is unfortunate because we know how human nature is. Yeah. The reality is that there will be people that are going to struggle, right? They're going to just shrink back in fear. Well, for those of us that know how to take advantage of opportunity, the reality of moving forward in faith gives us that extra advantage that maybe we wouldn't have had not a situation occur like we're facing now. But crises come and go. I mean, that's just life, right? You're either in a crisis, coming out of one, or right around the corner from one. That's the way it works.
I love that you said that, because that's exactly what I was. We're thinking about same track. But because that's just it. There isn't a generation that hasn't had a crisis. There isn't a generation that hasn't had to overcome something. And I got news for you. Whatever your goals are, whatever your big dreams and ambitions are, and I hope they're huge, whatever they are, you're not going to get there without adversity. And there's going to be something that you're going to have to look at and maybe over and over and over again. That's going to be your freaking Goliath, man. And you're going to have to go, do you have a right to stand there? And today I just urge you all to consider, is there not a cause?
Well, absolutely. And it's funny you mention that, because it's only through adversity that you grow, right? And it's funny, I was sharing with my son this morning. My son is 10 years old, and he just broke his wrist. He's recovering. Actually, it's fully recovered now. But he broke it doing Ninja Nation and this exercise, almost it's almost like American Ninja kind of training for kids. So he hasn't done much of anything because he's had a cast on. And now he's complaining about working out. So this morning when I had him doing just some exercising, and he says, "Oh, Dad, this hurts." I said, "Well, that's a form of adversity, and only through that pain and that struggle will you're ever going to grow, right? I mean, how do you know what you're made of unless you go through something, right? So going through something is what makes us better if we embrace it that way. Even something as a tough workout, or something greater like a crisis of some kind that's external, or even one that's internal, it makes us better."
It does, and that muscle is not going to break down until the muscle fiber breaks, right? That's the whole point. That's how you get what you want out of that.
Correct.
And so what can we be doing every day as the businesses that are stepping up, the businesses that are getting aggressive and getting back out there in a powerful way? Tell us, Jay, what do we need to be doing and saying to inspire our community? Because it's really, that's the role here that we have to play.
I think that the most important thing is you have to be convicted. You have to have a certain level of conviction, personal conviction, that you're going to get through. Because it's very difficult to portray a sense of confidence in another person if you're struggling with it yourself. Okay? So you have to be convicted so that you can be confident. You cannot be confident until you're first convicted that not only are you on the right track and you're going to recover and you're going to be better, but that you're going to prosper through it. right? Because that will resonate with people. So I would say to someone, anyone really, but those that are in business, that you first have to make sure that you believe you're going to make it before you start having a conversation with somebody else. Because if you're still dealing with head trash, then you need to get it cleaned up and cleaned out before you have a conversation with somebody else that's going to inspire them, okay? First person in the morning that has to be inspired, the first person in the morning that has to be inspired is the person that stares right back at you in the mirror. Because if that dude can inspire you, or do that, can inspire you, there's no one else who's going to do it.
No, you're absolutely right. Hey, we're going to hear from a few of our sponsors. Are you enjoying this as much as I am? Listen, we're going to be right back after a few messages. You're watching Offbeat Business TV.
The American business economy is positioned as it has never been before. Professional videography is a core element for attracting a higher level of engagement with the people group you need for significant impact. Now is your time to shine. My name is Bill Brock, owner of White Rock Films, and I invite you to a powerful opportunity in the marketplace, an opportunity to draw excited people to your events, an opportunity to showcase your ideas on infrastructure, an opportunity to become known as the industry authority and enjoy the associated benefits of a strong, influential brand. Video highlights, video teaches. Video puts a resistant market at ease, and video stirs the hearts and imaginations of your allies and strategic client base. White Rock Films offers full audio, video production for businesses ready to embrace the future, handling your project with professionalism, experience, and polish unheard of in the industry. My name is Bill Brock, and White Rock Films wants your business. See us online at whiterockfilms.com.
And we're back. You're watching Offbeat Business TV. You're listening to the OBBM Network podcast. My name is Susan Hamilton. I'm with VJ Maymi, thejmaymi.com, JAYMAYMI.com. This fella is a speaker. And how many books? 9?
9.
9 books. Written 9 books. And he's about to start a show on KLIF. And so he's doing a lot in the community right now in this space.
Mm-hmm.
So talk a little bit about some of the things you speak on. How are you? What is some of the hottest topics that you're getting that are in demand?
Well, I love to talk about topics that deal with personal growth and development. So that is a wide range of conversations we can have. But it can range from understanding how to be a better communicator. I believe that it's not only what you say, but how you say it that matters. Words matter.
Yes.
Okay. And whether it's in a personal relationship format or in a business format, the words that come out of your mouth and how you say it has major impact on the receiver of them. So you have to be a great communicator to have success in anything. So I talk a lot about that. I talk about leadership. I also talk about salesmanship. I spend a lot of time talking about body language. Body language is important. So the things that I believe that can help someone be better or go from that surviving to thriving mode. And I'm always open to exploring new topics. So that's I think that's what people enjoy, learning something new that doesn't automatically or has to be in the same avenue. No one likes to sort of traffic the same avenue every day, right?
That's true. But right now, I think that the topic of communication couldn't be more important because we're screwing it up. We're screwing it up right and left because we are all very inflamed about the different events of the day and how to say that well so that you can encourage a discourse when you really don't want to, right? You
Correct.
just you don't even want to engage at all. But there's something inside of someone who is stepping up in a leadership role. You got this right here that says, right? Shouldn't we address this? Shouldn't I have an opinion on this? Maybe not always. Maybe so. So how do we deal with communication in such a touchy time?
Well, I think that's a great question because you're either going to get it right or you're going to make things worse. That's what's interesting about communication. You're either going to enhance the conversation. And what I mean about enhancing the conversation, it's about moving forward the way the other person feels about you and understands the topic overall. So you either can, by the right words and effective communication, make that experience better, or you can make it worse. And people oftentimes make it worse.
Well, I think it's important to really understand some de-escalation techniques.
Absolutely. There is something interesting that happens. We think that we know, or we're convinced that we know what we are saying, but the other person is receiving it very, very differently.
Yeah.
Whether it's a client, a customer, relate to your child.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the breakdown begins. So taking a few minutes just to get better at that, even if it's at the skill of de-escalation, right? It's so important to have a healthy relationship, whether it's business, personal, it doesn't matter, relational. So that's one of the key areas that I do speak a lot on, but that's just one of many.
I think it's so big, and as you've heard me speak on a lot, is getting people back to face again, because there's an energy.
Absolutely.
My method of communication that's my favorite is not the telephone, it's the video, because I want to, if I'm having a chat or getting to know someone, I want to see if are we connecting. I can tell that when I see facial cues. I get concerned about the next generation that they may really lack some of those skills to be able to communicate effectively between them. But if we don't set a better example in that space by getting really, really good at that, I think that's a struggle. It's one of the reasons that all the shows that you'll ever find on the OBBM network are where we're talking. I believe that's a position that we have to take with our company to say we're going to set an example for how to have a conversation. They're not always going to be where we agree on every topic, but that's good, actually. Someone should see how two people can come to the table and have a discussion when they have 2 points of view.
I agree, and it's a lost art. I think it's becoming even more lost. Yeah, I see kids, and I see millennials, and even I would say not a whole lot of baby boomers and seniors, but millennials and Generation X. This is the way it works now, right? This is where we spend most of our time. And you can't really communicate a whole lot when you're doing this because there's no eye contact, and that becomes a challenge. So I teach my kids, my 10-year-old, my 19-year-old, my 20-year-old, that the best way to communicate is chin up. Just put your chin up. And for them, it's a foreign concept because, right?
But what are we going to do about employment if we don't deal with that?
Correct.
That's what people are really screaming for right now.
Correct. So there's a lot of improvement that has to happen, which is why I believe that the sort of work that I do and a show like this and these initiatives that are out there to help people are getting so much traction, because I believe there's a desire to improve, and from any source that a person can find it, they're going to be attracted to it, and there's a whole lot more we need to go.
I really enjoyed the interview you did with Asundu. So go back in through the OffBeat Business podcast, the OBBM Network podcast, and for Business First Responders, and get that, because I love the questions that you asked him. He had to really go in and look at, how am I going to do things differently? And it was a great example of how you work with people. And I thought that was fabulous, because right now people do need your skills. They need to be reminded of how to work inside the business, right? Because that team and that staff, that's the front line.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
They better get that right.
Correct.
Because we have to re-engage a community that might be real excited, might be really scared, might be really angry. Man, you do not know what you got on the other side of that counter. And you still need to do it, right? You still need to do it. So how are some of the things you're doing now? Do you teach coaching, group coaching, and do you come out and you work with a business one-on-one to maybe help them through some of that? Tell me a little bit about how you work with the community.
I do a lot of that. In fact, the last 7-8 months is predominantly working with small companies, small groups, either with their sales force, and learning psychology and utilizing psychology in selling, which is a wonderful topic. And most ninja professionals, I call them ninja professionals, understand these psychological skills in order to communicate better from a sales standpoint. So I've been doing a lot of work with that. Oh, it's huge.
So important. Sales, I mean, yeah, we got to get those numbers back up.
Absolutely. But also from sort of what you just mentioned, I was hired recently by a company that wanted to, for a 7-part series on how to help their huge company, how to help their employees and their staff begin to recover from a crisis. Because the fact is, when you are bombarded with negativity and if you are in an idle state, it's difficult to get out of that sometimes. And if you're cocooned in it, it takes a lot of work. So they've brought me on board to sort of help these people recover from a crisis. So I did a great series on that. Beginning of the year, I did another series for another company called Thriving in the New Decade. That was an awesome series.
Okay, great.
So it's a lot of fun when you do see that people are enjoying what you do and are learning just little tricks and tips that allows them to move forward, and that's what I enjoy the most.
It's so important, and I look forward to working with you in the future. I think
Thank
we're
you.
going to come up with some cool collaborations because the community, you need this, and I'm excited to start plugging those things in, right? The resources that you need with the people that need them, right?
Correct. I
Let's
agree.
put all those things together and solve some problems in this community. Get everybody back up to work. So, what's the best way for people to reach you?
They can go to my site, thejaymaymi.com, thejaymaymi.com. You could actually just Google me, and you'll find my pages on my Facebook page and my YouTube channel, my sites. I'm out there. I'm not a hidden secret.
So, out of all those books that you wrote, what's your favorite?
You know, I tell you, my favorite is a book called The 7 Powerful Techniques for Effective Subconscious Communication. It's my favorite book, but the best-selling book has been a book, the last one I released, which is called Battling Invisible Enemies, Facing the Inner Struggles Head On. I wrote that book for myself,
Oh, wow.
right? Because we all struggle with stuff. But as I wrote it, and I had a few people read it, they said, listen, this is where people are living today. And the challenge is, if you are in a high-performance field, whether it's in business or whatever, the higher you are in terms of glamour or in terms of public persona, the less you are to really reveal to anyone else that you're struggling with something. But we all struggle with something. So in my book, I listed 10 invisible enemies that you have to be aware of, cognizant of, and how to battle. And that one has sold more copies. And actually, it's not even made a year yet, and it's already in Spanish. And it's being printed now in Italian. So
I have to know. You have to give us. You have to give us 2 of those 10. You have to give us 2.
Well, I call the 10 the spiral of the battle, the invisible spiral.
I think you might do it.
The invisible spiral, and the first one starts off with it's called the phase 1, the 1-2 punch. The first one is dealing with worry. We all deal with worry.
Okay.
And one of the things I talk about in the book is that you don't get to what I call the last segment or the last aspect of the spiral. The last invisible enemy is depression. Well, depression just doesn't pop up. There's a series of things that happen, a series of invisible enemies you have to battle with to get to the enemy of depression. And the first one is worry. Then there's anxiety, anxiousness, and all the way down to discouragement, disappointment, delay. We don't do well with
I'm
delay.
feeling you. Mental health is a big thing for me. It's a big. I work in this space. I really put we need it. Our communities are suffering. We got 2 minutes, and I'm thrilled that you're talking to those in those states. But what if? Can you give our audience one tip that we could do better if we start seeing someone on that downward spiral?
Encouragement.
Bring it back up. Bring it back up. Look at you go.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, because most people cannot see when they are heading in that downward spiral that I talk about in my book. Most people cannot see encouragement right before their very eyes. They have a blind spot to it, right? So unless you go to them and say, hey, I know things aren't looking that well right now, but let me show you what is working. Here's what you should be encouraged by. It might just be that 1-minute conversation that, quite frankly, because I come from the field of psychology and social work, it saves a life. One word of encouragement can save that person from doing something drastic if they've hit the spiral and they've lost every battle with those invisible enemies along the way.
And I'm going to take that one step further and go, friends, each and every one of us needs to do that. So look up this podcast. You may have just grabbed a bit of it. Make sure you listen to the whole thing. This was a valuable conversation out there, and we can make a difference in our communities. And that one thing when communication is so tough and it's so weird, encouragement. What a simple answer, and yet it's going to take some time to get yourself right, get your head trash right, so you can actually be an encouragement out there. So excited to have you. thejmaymi.com. Go find this guy and check out his show on KLIF. Until next time, my name is Susan Hamilton. You're watching OffBeat Business TV or the OBBM Network podcast.
You've been listening to the OffBeat Business Show. Find our lineup, podcast, magazine, event calendar, and sponsor information, even our membership directory, all available on the OffBeat Business app or at offbeatbusiness.com. Download the OffBeat Business app today.